The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Good morning, traders. Happy Wednesday out there, everybody. Welcome out to the Tradespoon live trading room. Stocks and options opening bell. I am filling in for Vlad Karpel. My name is Scott Beck. I am the head trading coach here at Tradespoon. I know there's newbies out there or haven't been for a while. Please, I very much solicit your participation. If you've never introduced yourself, take the time to do so. Say hello. Add your perspective to the mix. This is a collaborative effort, and therefore we want to collaborate. Good morning, Raymond. Good morning, Charles. Good to have you. Good morning, John. Good morning, LK. Happy hump day to you, Chet. Good morning, Fred. Hello, Phil. Good to see you as always. So I've got some regulars, a couple of new ones saying hello. Hello there, Ted. Love it. The more the participation, the better this hour is, or whatever we are, 50 to 60 minutes, right? This is me if you don't know me. I've been trading for a while. I'd say more like 23 or 4 years and teaching for almost 20. That's me. I do need to remind you that there are disclosures. Here they are. Trading's risky, options particularly. We're not advisors. This is for education and information purposes. I hope you learn. Be careful out there. Protect yourself at all times. Those are the disclosures. Wacky Wednesday, John said. Yeah. Well, yesterday was interesting, and I'm going to talk about my concerns. I don't know if anyone else did this. I didn't do it on the paper account. I sometimes forget to do things on this account that I use for when we work together. So I forget sometimes to come in, but selling pieces after a big day for me in a market like this was definitely something that I prescribe. So anyone take some profits towards the end of yesterday? Lock in half. John said he sold half. Love it. That's a technique that we talk about. You can. I mean, and here's the thing: we're opening down today. We'll talk about the opening. We're opening down today. We have no idea what's going to do. Could end up positive. And at the end of the day, you'd be saying, "Sure, glad I held on to half." Right? If it's down, you're glad you sold half. If it's up, you're glad you held half. And we have now replaced regret with gratitude. And when you can replace regret with gratitude in any facet, I highly recommend you do so. Here are the futures. Let's talk about it. Let's go places. Let's go places, like Toyota says. S&P futures down 1%-ish, close. Dow down 1%-ish. NASDAQ 1%-ish. Russell more like $1.25 rebounds as global market rally fades. Adjustable rate mortgages are back kind of. Oh, yeah. 5 reasons why the stock market suddenly roared back. I mean, it had a positive day. I think it's important that we maintain perspective, right? I recommend that we maintain perspective about what happened Let's not just be like, look, it was green. It was 3%. But let's look at the characteristics that accompany that so that we can decide, does this look like this could be the start? Well, okay, it was a good day. But are there other elements we need to consider that help us to define and answer that next question? Right? 2 words. Now what? Now what? Do you pile into some bullish trades at the end of yesterday? Oh, it's so bullish. Let's jump in. Do you sell some of your bullish trades? Do you enter bearish, or do you start thinking about bearish trades? These are the questions that we want to explore and answer today. Hasbro Investor Day disappoints. Rental inflation, the market is shifting. Boeing stock could rise 90%, analyst says. And if he's wrong, remember, he said could. Could. We could all make great predictions like that. The Federal Reserve's chance of a policy error has increased. Well, we tend to overcorrect. Stock markets will drop another 40% as severe stagflationary debt crisis hits an over-leveraged global economy. The debt crisis is here, says Nouriel Rubini. Oh, that's very ominous. Very ominous indeed. All right. What specific news do we have today? Let's find Wednesday. ADP employment report. Oh, yeah, we're there. ADP employment was expecting 200,000. We're at 208. So we're seeing at least from that on the private report, a slowdown. We need that slowdown. Remember, the Fed said that we may see unemployment back at 5.5. Where are we now? 3.9, 1.6% increase. 170 million approximately, right? So what's 1.6% of that? 2.5 million jobs lost. Approximately. We know that the unemployment calculation is a little different, but just to spitball it, that's 2.5 million jobs that would be lost. We still add 200. So 200 is maintenance, really, right? 100, 200, that's maintenance. That keeps it at the level. So if you've been increasing, then now you're keeping it, then it is contracting. It's not diminishing. It's just slowed down a little bit. What about people who don't want to? That's true. There certainly are different ways that the numbers can be looked at for sure. Kevin reminded me that we have the OPEC announcement, big news to be announced. Are they going to, if and how much they are going to cut the production of oil? The article I read last night was the U.S. was making an attempt to tell them not to. We'll see if that has any impact. They're certainly worried about a recession and that activity will diminish. And in order to maintain prices, they're looking to get ahead of it, essentially. Whoa, what did I just do? Okay, let's see. Tomorrow, some Fed speak, which is still important. Initial jobless claims, still in a very, very reasonable area. What was it last week? 190,000. I mean, it's really If those numbers are below 250, there's not much there. A better number is the labor participation. I mean, that may be true, but the Fed themselves are watching the unemployment rate. That's one of the things they specifically mentioned. And right now, that's the question, right? We're already starting to speculate with what are they going to do in November. I believe it's November 2nd, like early in November. Amount will be based on smaller producers' ability to produce and how much pressure Russia applies. Yeah, the Russia. I mean, as we look at coming into winter in that European natural gas situation, that level of uncertainty is definitely disconcerting. So I still think I agree. Let's talk about that, John. Let's speculate. What is the rate hike going to be? I think they're going to go to that plan where they raise, but at a lower rate, right? So we drop now to a 0.5 hike, 0.5. Markets opening. Then in December, middle of December, the last Fed meeting of 2023, then they drop to a quarter of a point. I think that could be some catalysts if and when we have a Santa rally, right? Is something where don't fight the Fed. Okay. The rest of this week, what do we have? Let me go back. So now we have non-farm payrolls, and you can see same thing. Last month, 315. This month, expected to be 275. So it is expected to drop, but it is still increasing. And this is a rate that would continue. Where you can see we're at 3.7. I thought we were 3.9. So going to 5.5, 5.5 unemployment, still a pretty decent labor market, but that is a couple million jobs lost. And right now we're still adding jobs. We haven't seen that happen yet. So yeah, maybe there's still potential of a soft landing. Maybe the Fed can, with the interest rates, get things back under control without seeing that shift. Yeah, that's about it. Let's look at the model real quick, and then we'll jump into our charts. SPY. So you can see projecting it to drop, right? Not a very big pop, but the drop also. Remember what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a higher low. So if this comes down and stabilizes, and all of a sudden this prediction whips up, and we see this, well, giddy up, right? Higher low. What do we have? I have a break of the consolidation. Boom. Gets here. Slight pullback, higher low. That's exactly the kind of thing that makes me think, yes, Santa rally, right? We get 2 months, 2.5, 3. That might be all we get before it goes sideways. That's what we got recently, or close, about 2 months, right? I can live with this prediction, but it does say, yeah, you know what? If you haven't, you may want to take some profits on bullish things and reevaluate to see. SPY, let's go look at QQQ. Then we're going to get to the charts, and I'm going to show you my concern with yesterday. I'm going to see if anyone else identified a similar concern. Look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is like, yeehaw. Okay. Well, I'm skeptical of that. Now that Musk agreed to buy Twitter at 54, is he back to his original price? I thought I heard that, Kevin. I thought I heard he was back, just kind of like right before he was going to have to give a deposition, man. So apparently he did not want to have to give the deposition. That looks bullish there. I would say neutral on the SPY, bullish on the Qs. I don't know why I'm looking at IW, but I will look now at IWM. Bullish on the IWM, but then looking for a consolidation. Sideways on the Dow. Model grades are a C. He says, yeah, that's true. So from the cyclical, you can see there's still, this is where we tend to see it. Could this be the catalyst? Sure. If we see it go up, pull back a little bit, turn, up, pull back a little bit, turn, right? That's in line. That's what I need to see to really be convinced that we're going to see something a little bit more bullish. What are my concerns? So here, even now, I would still say it's a little questionable, right? I would draw my line of consolidation coming down through like this, right? I'm willing to sacrifice that day because that day was that's a little bit of an abandoned baby right there, right? Gapped up, but didn't have a lot of volume. Next day, gap back down. Certainly, just was like an anomaly of price. So if I put my consolidation line here, we have broken it. The concern is that this big volume did not occur on the break. So there was a little bit of a pop in volume, but not that much. So, okay, I'm going to take that into consideration. But I would say that overall, that does constitute a break of my consolidation point. So what am I looking for now? Now I'm looking to see, do we go any higher? I mean, you can see we're up off the lows, but we're still lower than yesterday's high. So are we hitting resistance? We're starting to enter already into an overbought territory. So maybe we're thinking something like this happens, where it just sort of starts to slow down and then pull back. But if we get that slowdown and pull back, that becomes the entry bullishly that I would be thinking, yeah, that's what can give us a bullish rally through the end of the year. So now what? Well, now what is, do you look at this and think, I think this is the bullish sign. You're lower than yesterday's high. That's hard. If you do, let me show you a perspective that's helpful. If you think it might run from here, I would suggest this type of a perspective where you could set a stop loss rather than under here. Maybe you set it here. Aggressively, you might even go here. And if it continues to run, great. But you'll notice it already is kind of diminishing right here. Smaller body candle, lower high. That is, even though it's a green Heiken-Ashi candle, that certainly is indicative of a diminished momentum. Okay, let me go back out of this. Let's look at the opening range. Gap down, rallied up. Now we're kind of pausing. All right, we'll check this again as we get towards the end of our session here. Let's talk about the VIX, or before I go to the VIX, here's the impromptu quiz. Did anybody notice anything interesting about the VIX, concerning about the VIX, noteworthy about the VIX? Let me know your thoughts. So I'm gonna just kind of highlight, get my drawing out. Did it give me a heads up to the rally? No. No, us trading a little bit of bullishness was basically just simply saying we are in extreme oversold conditions. We seem to be testing the support. The VIX did not give any kind of signal about this, so you missed nothing. But what's happening now is so here's, you can kind of see what I drew, right? Where we kind of had this rally, and you can see, look at the size of that day. Then it paused, then another one. And then yesterday. Now, if all I saw was that candle yesterday, let me put my mouse kind of pointing at it right there. If somebody showed that chart to me and said, hey, Scott, based on what you see here, what do you think the market did today? I'd be like, I bet it was a positive day, and I bet the market went up maybe 0.5, 0.67%, like less than 1%. That's what I would project in that scenario, right? Is, wow, look at that. Now, what would that have set up? This is why it is interesting. Anyone notice the same thing? It looks like someone did. We had a big rally, but the VIX held relatively strong. Yes. Now, if you said to me, Scott, the market is up 3%, what would I expect to see? I would expect to see another one of these. So that's the candle I would expect, right? Something like the day before where I'm like, wow, look at that. Now, that in and of itself wouldn't still not be like, okay, that's it. That would tell me that if we slow down from there, even there, that's a higher low, right? Even there, that's a higher low. Include the gap down, right? Even like you said, that's even bigger. So that's, even if it did that yesterday, it would be a higher low if it turned from there. But having that size is exactly when I start to think, like over here. We go up, hit a lower high, and now we start thinking, this looks good again. That's what I would have expected to happen to help lead towards a well, I lost my train of thought. A higher a confirmation, right? A bounce to the upside. But we didn't get that. So what does it mean? It means that right now, the expected move up. Okay, there you go. Yeah. So right now, what do I see? If this is what it looks like, we have had a pullback. We were at this new high, right? We were elevated, and this is not much of a pullback here. So I'm very concerned that we're not only going to make a run back here, but that we might actually break into the low 40s for the first time since early recovery of the pandemic. And that's when we really see the market make. That's what a lot of people are looking for on the market, is that one last big drop. Boom! Oh, it's 4% in a day, and then it, and it's like this huge amount of like capitulation, and then we recover. So very, very concerned about this right here. And if you're still in some bullish trades and this is the signal, yes, for me, it's a hedge. For me, that's absolutely a hedge. If you're not in bullish trades, then you are possibly looking to enter bearish trades. Overall, my market posture is still bearish. This right here is all still bearish. I don't like it. Okay. Questions, comments? What else? Anyone have something they want to talk about with the VIX? Let's move on to the watch list. So there's, again, you can see right now what we're looking for is, are there any breakouts that you're thinking you're going to trade bullishly on the pullback? I mean, maybe you're thinking you're going to trade the breakout. And again, if you're trading the breakout, use Heiken Ashi to help steer your directional bias on which ones you're going to trade. Apple. Yeah, I mean, would I go out to November 9th on a hedge? I'm going to probably start with this as week 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd probably go to the 11th of November. Yeah, the 9th would be a Wednesday weekly. I've never actually traded a Wednesday weekly. Actually, maybe I did by mistake a couple times where I just, misjudged what my date was. Then it's not like I have a problem with them. I just like standard. I like the volumes on the standards. I mean, SPY has Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So, but I tend to be a Friday guy. So, yeah, the 11th of November, 5 weeks. Apple is a possibility. And I want it to be we should want it to be if we want a recovery. Because if that's the consolidation, the final one, and we go up and we come down and we find some support somewhere in here for a bounce, you see exactly that exact pattern back here. A heavy acceleration. It broke out, pull back, and there's your entry. And you got one big trade, or you've got several trades inside of this. That's what we're looking for here, right? That's what tells us we're done. It looked like it might have been here. And actually, it could have tricked a few people there, and that's valid. But for the most part, it didn't really hold up. This never gave you the signal you were looking for. You had a decent candle, but you did not have the oscillators in line with you. So that's what we're looking for. Do we have the patterns that indicate and give us some expectation that a reversal has indeed occurred? The answer for me is not yet. Look at ADI. It's holding up. Big moves up. Chips, right? Remember, we actually have a chips trade on. As I said, I closed half. It never broke support. It held, it turned, it's profitable. If you haven't closed half, you can, but it still looks like it could make a little bit more run with the other half. We'll see. But chips definitely broke a consolidation. I'd probably put my consolidation line here. We broke it. If it doesn't have much of a pullback and it doesn't get all the way back here, another trade. Where do we see something like that? Here is a consolidation. Whoops, I curved my line right at the end. Imagine if I kept that line going straight. It broke out, it pulled back, higher low, right there. Boom. 1, 2. Yeah, that's it. We have the first step of that. What are we waiting for? If it pulls back and turns, I think there's a good chance. And there's where you got two good trades in a row. Boom, pull back, boom. Okay. What does that turn into? And this is not weighted to time. That's just a drawing. That's not the timeline, but that moves us into a fall rally, a Santa rally. Where was I? ADM. Again, these are all going to show a very similar pattern. So you have to decide: do I believe this? Is it a breakout? I'm gonna let the I'm gonna do an impromptu quiz. What do I use for a drawing pen on TOS? I use the drawing tools from GoToWebinar. That's why they're so easy, Koo. Oh, I do sometimes. There's a program called Epic Pen, and I'll actually pull that out to draw so I can draw very quickly and fluidly, and then I just erase it. But if you want it to stick with the chart, anything, that's why when I draw my lines and I change the chart, it just stays there, right? Because it's on the webinar. It's a great question, and I actually go through drawing tools with people I work with all the time. So yeah, if you want it to lock in, you got to use the platform. If you're just looking to play around, there's little drawing programs you can get and just like work very similarly to webinar drawing tools. AMD. Ooh, AMD does not look as good. I'm glad we avoided AMD. We went with Marvell. We were choosing between that and NVIDIA. ADI looks pretty good. AMD looks pretty weak, quite honestly. Amazon, breakout. Now what? High or low? Same chart. What am I looking for? High or low? There's a lot. The question is, do we get it or not? Do we get it or not? The puts I'm talking about are not born of these charts. That's from the VIX individually. That is very specifically a signal from the VIX. So, when I look at this, I do think this is the kind of pattern that could lead to a confirmed reversal signal. Baba, I'm not a big fan. In fact, when it broke out here, I said I got to wait for it to turn. By the time it came back and turned, it was back to the old support. That's not a higher low. That's the same low. Went up for 3 days and then dropped again. Didn't complete the pattern. Bank of America. Very similar. Very similar. That's a good looking one right there. Nice big smash up. More volume there. Look at ConocoPhillips. I saw it and I'm like, do I want to? I didn't like this gap. Anybody else see this? I traded this one back here and I think this one here. And I'm like, you know what? It's a little too low down. I don't like the gap. And I did not pull the trigger in here. And it Costco looks pretty mediocre right now. Chet says, what about CI Cigna for a short? Cigna. I mean, I get what you're saying because it definitely is at resistance or at what has been a prior resistance. It's certainly looking overbought. Overall, though, kind of looks strong. The fact that it's like, I'd rather see something that's already broke support and is now hitting a lower resistance. I mean, I'm not against it because it is definitely up here. It has a good ability to drop 14, 15 points. I'd say it's viable. DBC, not much there. John Deere. I think I like Caterpillar better now. I go back and forth. I think it's Caterpillar for me right now. At any given time in my portfolio, there is a John Deere Caterpillar tug of war. And in my mind, it's two bulldozers hooked up with a chain, and I'm seeing which one is pulling the other. And right now, it's Caterpillar. Diamonds, we saw this before, and it failed. Tractor pull, that's it. Good old-fashioned tractor pull. It tried this before, it broke, and then it didn't hold. So that's why I'm saying for me, I'm not like, oh, it's rally. Maybe. If it comes back here and holds a higher low, then I'm convinced. If it just drops all the way back and then some, we're back in this same pattern. We need more information. There's not enough here to be like, well, that's it. We just put in a bottom. Maybe. Disney. There's a lot of maybes out here. FXI, but all of them are going to now need some comp. Look at that one. Ooh, look at gold. Who mentioned gold earlier? It's not up today, but gold definitely had like a pop all of a sudden. And it's an interesting thing because I really don't see gold as being representative of I don't see it being representative of defensiveness right now. Like a lot of times you're like, oh, flight to safety, let's get to gold, right? But it's like that hasn't happened. So the fact that it's happening now doesn't mean I think it's happening late. I think there's a different, this is just my opinion, a different interpretation. I don't know what. Like I said, I always watch the precious metals, but I haven't traded for a while. I just haven't been comfortable with how they move. But that's a very interesting move. Look at that. That's bigger than anything you've seen on 6 months. So to me, it's like, and it is very much occurring on overall above average volume. IWM, big pop in the small caps, Jets, yeah, okay. Meta doesn't look great. Facebook's not one where I'm like, I don't know, maybe Facebook's on the bottom. Maybe it is, but it has there's no sign of buyers. There's no like, hey, we're going to test the waters. It's like, yeah. There's Marvell. Got a nice, we caught it here, waited, caught it. Decide if you're going to keep the rest of it or see if this thing makes another run. Microsoft looks look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Not exactly, but pretty close. Microsoft, we would love to see Microsoft. Back in this area, we thought maybe the market could recover from Apple and Microsoft, but they just couldn't hold, right? That I would have absolutely considered this the consolidation. We broke and we fell right back into it, and then we continued down. Now what? I would consider this the consolidation. We break, we come back. If we hold above, that's viable. It doesn't have to be a complex pattern. Go back over every stock that was dropping and look at what it looks like. Now, you can find little like, oh, it tried and then it couldn't do it. And then if it tries and then it just gives it all back, well, then all bets are off. Over here, it tried and it held on. Not the SPY did a better job than Apple did a better job. We were even saying at the time Microsoft's a little bit behind. Okay. A lot of this pattern is showing up. You see it. Netflix, we thought Netflix was interesting because it's just grinding along, man. Just moving sideways, up and down, like a rocking chair on a porch, sipping a lemonade out of a mason jar, straw hat, fanning them. That's what Netflix is right now. Somebody's Southern grandpa drinking lemonade on the porch. There's just not much there. NEO had an exciting run after its earnings, and this just sort of fizzled since then. I'm very close to getting rid of it. In fact, you know what? It's gone. NEO's gone. The whole EV car craze, and it just really hasn't had any bib overalls. Yes, Bill sees it. He sees it. Maybe even chewing on a bit of straw, commenting on the weather. It's unseasonably hot for October. That's what he's saying. It's very vivid, I know. NVIDIA. No, where was I? NVIDIA. Yeah, okay, same thing. I think, Marvell and ADI were probably the best two, but the whole sector, we'll see SMH in a second, the whole sector is showing signs of a reversal, which is great because we need essentially for For technology to lead a rally, I believe we need Apple, Microsoft, and chips. If they're in line, we can have a rally led by the NASDAQ. And a rally led by the NASDAQ has the most sustainability. If the NASDAQ is not participating, it's likely not to be as strong. So yeah, that would be great. That would be certainly beneficial to anyone who was thinking, yeah, I would love to see the market move bullishly the last 3 months of the year. Okay. QQQ today looks very similar. Like I said, QQQ is really pretty much a composite of Apple and Microsoft and chips. Starbucks. So Starbucks actually gave a little bit of a turn or gave a signal back here, but it did a very similar thing as our Marvell trade. It pulled back here and then bounced, right? And it was like, okay. SLV, yeah, silver was strong, but it's giving back some today. Here's SMH. Looks good. Looks good for a reversal. Doesn't look good for a trade now. It looks good for a reversal. We're already in a trade on this now. Probably some of you all of it, some of you half of it. If you think it's going to keep going, then make sure you keep the other half. If you otherwise, you want to definitely be ready for that. SPY, same kind of a thing. We've seen this before where we've got 4 good days. Volume here was a little more lackluster, but even here it's not phenomenal. We've only got 2 days. It was a couple of pretty decent looking days, though. What are we looking for now? What is the pullback? If the VIX, where is the VIX now? Sorry, let's jump to the VIX, which is not too far. If it closes like this, that's a higher low. It's turned. That's my signal. Nothing else matters to me. That is a very specific signal that kicks a very specific trade into effect. And I can tell you right now that if we see this happen again, where this fails, that is not off the table. And my trade of 5% out of the money for 5 weeks would be very strong, because that was a 10% drop, 400 to 360, 10%. So a 10% drop from this high, 377. 377. I would, if anyone has an opposing perspective, I'm not like saying let's have an argument. I'm saying I'd like to hear it, because I'm open to it. I mean, I am saying that it could either rally from here or crash from here. So I'm giving a pretty good hedge to my perspective. So you're probably either on one side or the other, or right in the middle, thinking, yeah, it could definitely go either way. 378 times 0.9, that puts us down at 340, right? 340-ish. If we go back in a little further in time, if we go back even a little further in time, still 340. Yeah, so I would say, anywhere in this 335 to 350. I mean, just somewhere in this area. Okay. You can see that would definitely be in line with what we've seen happen. That's what some people are still looking for, that final capitulation. If that's going to come, there's a good chance it comes out of what we're seeing now. Let me go back to my 6-month chart. That it looks like we did here, and we fall. And last time I got in there pretty early, but still there. I would love to catch it if it's going to do that even sooner. So that's the VIX signal. Tesla looks terrible. It's a dog. Tesla doesn't like what Musk seems to be doing with the whole Twitter extravaganza. UNG, gas, I don't know. I could see it really as we get closer to winter and some Russian escalation. I could see that getting worse. Visa trying to get that reversal. The VIX not looking great. XLP, I mean, staples are way down. Utilities, I mean, look at utilities. Like, there's no defensiveness there. That's another subtle thing that's like, well, okay, if money is rotating out of defensive utilities and defensive staples and has rotated out of oil or materials, where is it going? And that's what we're trying to figure out is it going to go into the NASDAQ? There does seem to be a rotation at play. So that's definitely something that I'm looking at. Okay, so let's look at the SPY one more time before we wrap up. What's a trade? You're either already in it and managing it, not a half of it and managing the other half of it. Maybe. I mean, look, I for me, no, I'm not going to chase into this. There's nothing here that's like, yeah, let's dive into some bullish trades because we had 2 good days last week or this week. What day is today? It's Wednesday. Yeah, you know what I mean. You're with me. I'm definitely looking for what's lining up, and what's lining up for me is fade the rally, right? Fade the rally. The heat map. Let's go take a look at that heat map, Ted. Yeah, not a lot of green. Tesla is no good, but you can see utilities are the part of the worst. Materials, real estate, defensive is okay. Communication services not great. The Disney may not have heard yet. The stock hasn't reacted, but it does look like I'll be back at Disney World one more time in December. So I would expect some movement due to that news. Yeah, it's an interesting heat map. So I will be back this afternoon. I would love to invite you to come with your coffee and your fresh ideas. We'll definitely look at the SPY put trade if we get the signal from the VIX. So that'll be interesting. We'll look at how we want to manage the anything bullish. That should be interesting. And we'll go from there. So I think we have a good idea of what our now what looks like. And my now what extends to next week, right? If we get if we do pull back for the next couple of days and it's small pullback with minimal volume, then my posture, even though my posture would still likely be in what I would consider the bearish zone, that's my market posture. My trading posture in that circumstance, especially if it's confirmed by the VIX, would be a bullish trading posture. And it would be more. The fact that I get a higher low would be much more bullish than what it was when we just said, you know what, there could be a bounce here. If it does, we'll probably want something on. So let's put something on. We didn't put a lot on, put a little something on. So there it is. Well, I'm glad for this impromptu surprise Wednesday morning meeting. It was very exciting for me. I enjoyed. My coffee is now empty, so our time here is now done. I hope you're managing your risk. I hope you're keeping your perspective open. If you want to be right, have more than one idea of what's going to happen. That's sage advice from a wise trader. That's mine. I will be back this afternoon. I hope you can join me. And I will see you then. As always, happy trading.